Okay, we're live. Yay!
Hello! Live in London.
Yay! So I am here today. I'm Andrea Balboni. I'm a sex, love, and relationships coach. And I am so excited to be here today with Andrea Tan, who has come all the way from Singapore. Yay! To be in London.
Finally.
Yay! So Andrea is also an integrated sex, love, and relationships coach. She's also a Jade Egg coach and founder of Athena Rising. So if you'd like to say hello to everyone and maybe tell them a little bit about the work that you do.
Yeah. Hi everyone, from Singapore, and so this is my first time in London. And so I work with individuals and couples around topics of love, relationship, intimacy. I educate on sexual wellness as well, and in particular, I focus on a group that go through life transitions. So life transitions are really like big career change, injury, illness, or even separation and divorce.
Yeah. And so I wanted to invite Andrea here today to talk specifically about people transitioning from divorce, because I was surprised to learn how much they have in common with people who have been single for a really long time. So what I found in my work with people who are single for a very long time is that they often lose a sense of self, and they feel that there's a journey that there is to undertake to get in touch with themselves again, to understand what they really want in this life and relationship and in love, and they don't quite know where to start. And having spoken to more and more people who are divorced, and to Andrea here, who is a specialist in this, one of the things she specializes in, she's amazing. She also was agreeing that this is a journey that people do go through when they are looking to move from that transition in life of divorce and life after divorce to their new life. So I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about what someone, when they are newly divorced, what kind of is going through, what's the process of moving from that phase of that transition from divorce into a place of being ready to date again and find love again?
So I draw a lot of experiences from my own process. I was divorced about 4 years ago, and also with the people that I work with. And I find that we don't often look at divorce as a transition. We just want to get through it as fast as we can. Our emotions get completely riled up. We feel everything at the same time through the divorce, and we finally get out. We're kind of a bit worse for wear before we entered like the relationship. And I found that to be really interesting because no one told us that we need to come out of a divorce worse for wear. Like we can come out of a divorce a lot better, stronger emotionally, stronger mentally, stronger spiritually as well. And I find that the transition really happens when we start to learn to have gratitude for the process that we went through, really learn to understand what our triggers were during the divorce, or maybe even the relationship before the divorce. And in a whole new way, as we transition and we learn about the triggers and gratitude, we learn how to, we relearn our relationship skills. We learn how to see where we went wrong. I mean, it takes two to clap. And, we learn how to see where we can be better. And so we kind of almost relearning everything with relationship. If we try to fix something that was previously in the old relationship, it really doesn't get us off on a good start, because we're really just trying to bring up whatever was in the old relationship, whatever was past. We're trying to kind of bring it all along together through the transition, which really doesn't work, because you really want to come out a lot lighter. So I think the transition really happens at that point. When we are grateful, we see that as a point where I'm stepping over to something really new, and that I'm okay, I'm safe, and I'm open to really learn new skills for a new relationship.
Amazing. Okay. So is what I'm hearing then part of the process kind of like a digestion of what just happened, and an understanding of what just happened in the relationship that you were in, and then a letting go, so that you're relearning new skills to be relating to people in a new way?
That's kind of part of it as well. And we can't forget that divorce is a transition. So often we just try to move past things as quickly as we can, because it was really horrible. Or any divorce, no matter how amicable the terms were, still takes out a lot of emotional turmoil in anyone. And so we try to get through it very quickly without really thinking, how am I stepping over this transition? How am I entering into the new phase of my life? So part of the process is really to slow down and to take note, and to check in how we are taking ourselves through that transition, how we're crossing that threshold in that sense, and basically leaving behind what we don't want, like any transition, and creating what we want for the future.
Amazing. Okay, so it sounds like slowing down when you really want to speed up and get through things so that you can come away with the wisdom and the lessons that experience, as painful as it is and as difficult as it is, may have left you with. So kind of like the silver lining or the golden nuggets in what was a very challenging time in someone's life. Yeah, so that sounds fantastic. So slowing down, really taking time to learn the lessons, have gratitude for that time and the lessons that were learned, so that as you transition into the new phase of life, you have a sense of, you are much lighter, as you said. I think that was beautiful, and feel a sense of completion in a different way than you might otherwise. Yeah, that sounds great. So I just wanted to check the comments. So we have the comments over here for a minute. So we're just going to check and see if anyone has any questions.
Hey, Margot.
So just pop them in. Hey, Margot, how you doing? So if anyone has any questions, you can pop them in the comments, and we'll also be checking the comments later.
Okay.
So that if you are watching this and it's not live when you're watching it, then we'll be available for any questions that come up. Andrea and I will be here for you. Yeah. Okay, amazing. So as someone goes through this process of slowing down and becoming more aware of what happened, my suspicion is that's going to be a bit confusing. And how would you suggest that people work through some of the entanglements that have come, and confusion that may have come from a tricky situation?
Yeah, I think a lot of the confusion actually comes from fear, because when you're slowing down, you kind of have to deal with literally what went wrong, what were the triggers. And there's a large part of yourself that tends to come into self-blame. I did something and therefore it resulted in this, or I was not enough of this and therefore this happened. And so that's where the confusion and the fear does seep in. And I would say really just kind of look at the slowing down is part of the process, where if you don't sit with it, you don't really get to see it in its full light, in that sense, where you can't really see it for what it is. Okay. But yet it's also equally important that you look at it. So I would recommend for some people who have issues with, say, trying to transition over and work through the emotional triggers, to really work with someone who can hold that space for you. Because that's really helpful. For me, I kind of powered through, and I felt that maybe took a little bit longer than had someone been able to guide me through, which is why I'm very passionate about working through with people through the transitions. Definitely be able to find some space. So I was working full-time at that time, and I have a lot of clients who work full-time as well, but definitely find like a 20-30 minute time slot when you can be by yourself, just completely by yourself, because that's a time where you want to work through your emotions, and a lot of it that comes out is rage and sadness. Sometimes both at the same time, sometimes one after another, like a pendulum. And you just want that space to completely let it out. So it's that punching pillows, and then later just crying really, hard on the floor. And it's not a time where you kind of want to explain to someone, I'm just doing a process, please, leave me alone. So which is why I say just take 20-30 minutes where you can really be by yourself. Just let yourself, it's almost like an exercise, just let yourself feel all of that and let it through. Because it is important for your body to be able to release these emotions, but it's also important for you to acknowledge that these exist. I mean, no matter how we want to appear all put together through different parts of our life, the truth of the matter is divorce is painful. And we, at different points of the divorce process, because sometimes it stretches over a period, we feel like we've been betrayed, we've been let down by life, all these do come up. So it's really to slow down and to sit with these emotions. And if you set like a 20-30 minute time slot, it kind of gives you, this time, like, okay, after 30 minutes, you go back to your life, right? Okay, so you have to do what you have to do next. Maybe you have kids to deal with, maybe you have, your job to deal with. So like 20-30 minutes, and you get out that space so you don't get stuck in an endless spiral downwards as well.
Exactly. Yeah. So with the 20 minutes, 20 to 30 minutes, would you say that's a daily thing or as and when you need it, or?
I would say daily, yeah, because just so much is going through, and after, as you transition through the divorce, there will be a point where you kind of feel, oh, I can calibrate a little bit better. Maybe the 30 minutes to myself is really for me to just lie down and just rest and ignore everything that the world is telling me right now, rather than going through the rage and the sorrow. There's less of that.
Okay.
Yeah. There was a huge and marked difference that I usually see in myself, that I saw in myself and the clients I work with. If you can do the practice daily, and then through the period of time, you kind of really see that really going down.
Okay. Yeah. So it sounds like the first step is allowing and processing through the emotions. So just getting them out and really feeling them and acknowledging them and knowing that that's okay, that they're there. It's totally normal. And then what you mentioned just a little bit before that was about the fear and what happens with self-blame and this sense of not being enough, or what did I do wrong? And that comes up a lot also with people who are perennially single, always kind of single. It's like, what am I doing wrong? Maybe I'm not enough, or maybe I'm too much of this. So how can one start to kind of work through and build up a good sense of self, and that actually they are enough and it wasn't their fault? Are there some ways that you would recommend of working through that as well?
So I kind of encourage working through that and the sorrow piece one at a time. And sooner or later, when the person feels like, okay, I have the energy to kind of take on more, then they can bring on both. And it really depends. But usually I find that the sorrow and the anger is the first piece that kind of needs to come out first, because it's so intense and it feels so scary and real the more you ignore it. But I find that to help gear yourself to a vision of self-worth, or at least to work towards the value of self-worth and self-love, is to also have a vision of how you want to feel as you come out of the divorce. So things around how you feel, how you look, maybe how you're interacting with your friends, with your family, how you're dating, things like that, or maybe the type of people you're attracting in your life. So have that vision very clear. I know people talk about like vision boards or vision statements. Anything, if you're a bit more literal, you like a vision statement. If you're a bit more visual, you take a vision board. But yeah, that particular vision is important, because as you're going through all the confusion, and then sometimes feelings of self-doubt comes up, by consistently going back to the vision, it's about recalibrating yourself to allow yourself the possibility that no, there is so much more out there for me, and I'm worth so much more, than to fall into the usual feelings of self-worth and like things around self-worth and self-doubt.
Okay. So you're actually holding a higher vision of what you would like for your life, constantly in your awareness kind of thing. Yeah,
it's to gradually get used to that vision, because we've been so used to self-doubt as part of our lives. I mean, let's not even talk about divorce. Like just in general with different things, we've been given a lot of different messages somehow. So it's really not about saying, let me go from 0 to 100 and recalibrate something completely different. But it's also about like giving that space to inch slowly towards that self-worth. And if you're going through a divorce, you're going through so much more as well. It's really a lot for the nervous system to take all at one go. So the vision's just really nice to constantly move yourself in that direction. And also it helps guide your actions, I find. So in a divorce, sometimes when these emotions take a hold of yourself, it's very easy to lash out against your ex-spouse, or even like in divorce negotiation and proceedings, to really want to fight for what was right, fight for revenge almost, in some sense. And by having that vision, it recalibrates you to the type of person you want to be as you move out of the divorce. And that helps also a lot with these kind of decisions that come up. You get to think about whether or not it's worth kind of going along this path to fight for what you want or you think you want, or is it about learning to forgive or heal yourself, or giving yourself that time out so that you can move towards a more empowered space after the divorce.
Yeah. So you're actually creating a new you through the process of everything that you're going through.
Yes.
So the first step sounds like a cleaning and clearing
Yeah.
of all the emotions and the rage and the intensity that's there.
Yeah.
And it'll be very intense.
Mm.
And once that is processed through, there's space to allow for this vision of how you would like to feel and where you would like to be and the kind of person you would like to be after everything is said and done. Yeah. So, and that just the mere process of first cleaning and clearing and then creating a vision and starting to live towards that rebuilds within you a sense of self-worth.
Yes.
Is that what you're finding?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, through the coaching, there are various practices that's usually given to build on various portions of self-worth. But definitely in allowing yourself the compassion and the courage even to go through this process and take on the clearing and then to take on the vision is a strong, how would I say, training, I guess, or build up in terms of building that self-worth and that self-love.
Yeah, it takes a massive amount, I think, of compassion to slow down and to be with so much of this these intense feelings, and also an intensity of desire for something new and something different.
Yeah.
And an aspiration for just a different way of being, for sure.
Yeah.
It is actually a very similar path in a way to when people are single for a really long time and just don't know what they're supposed to feel or should feel when they're in a relationship because they don't have any reference points or they haven't been there yet. And so it's almost an imagining of what they feel someone might bring them. And then starting to really step into that. Amazing. Okay. So at what point, this is kind of a key question, at what point would you say, how do you determine when you're ready to date again? When you're ready to step into closeness or intimacy with someone again? How can you understand when you might be ready for that?
That's a good question. I guess for me, a lot of the points where I watch out for is either where they can feel fully grateful for the divorce or the past relationship. There's definitely that point of, I'm grateful that this happened and you can feel the shift. And for me, I guess it was also really a point where I wasn't clinging on to old ideas of the relationship. So a lot of times coming up from the divorce, and this is what I commonly see as well, is that the first inclination to date is usually because you're worried that, you may have missed the boat. You tried and you missed the boat and you need to catch up for lost time or something like that. It's just really weird belief systems that are actually really completely not true. Or that you kind of screwed up, so you have to like get in with and you're in with a smaller pool because you're not as young and things like that, and you might have kids and all that, or you're just starting from scratch, so you literally feel like you haven't dated for a while, and that's probably sometimes due to the breakdown of the relationship. You've never really dated in a marriage, and so now you kind of like, okay, what do I do? Like, do I put on a dress? Do I smile a little bit more? Do I laugh at the jokes? Is that all this kind of funny things that comes up, right? And I look for the point where the inclination to date is less about I need to find someone versus I would really just like to explore and just have fun and just to connect with someone. And then I can see that shift or that understanding. That's when I feel that it's probably around the right time to date. Because anything before that, there's a tendency to want to cling on really quickly. And again fall back and very easily fall back into the old triggers and old patterns, because it's not that there are not enough people to date out there, but it's just that at that current point of time the psyche is still tuned towards what may go wrong. So anything that they see in the date or anything that they see in the non-response of the date will trigger them to go, oh, like something's wrong with me, I better try harder, or like, and then it will spiral down again. It's kind of really tricky point.
Okay, so if someone is still in that point of you're sensing that they're clinging or that there might not be enough kind of inner sense of self yet, where they're not kind of looking for someone to, what I'm getting or sensing from you is that they're kind of looking for a relationship to kind of prove that they're worth something or that they're that it will solve problems, or that they've got to get it because it might slip away if they're late to the game, and now all this, they have no time, and everyone else is younger, and all this stuff, right? All the stories. So if someone is kind of caught in that space, then what are a couple of, I know we talked about them before, so a couple of other things that people could do to really build in even more appreciation of what they have and what they are and what they have to give, and just start to enjoy life as it is, as a person who is newly single. And so that when they enter into dating, as you say, they're looking for connection and exploration rather than kind of this grasping need.
I think a lot of we are given a lot of opportunity, especially during the divorce, and we sometimes don't. I realize because everyone's like really caught up in all the emotions, and that's why I look around clearing and getting vision, because we get caught up in all the stuff that doesn't really matter, and you don't realize that actually there's actually a lot of time for yourself. You know, or rather, I choose spending a lot of time with yourself, and that's when you really get to know yourself. You know, get to really take care of yourself. I like to go by a very easy gauge of the five senses. You know, like if everything's too much and too much is going on, just go with the five senses and just work with what do you like to eat, what do you like to smell. Just spend really time with yourself, like dates with yourself, and for that particular date, just concentrate on the sense. Right, and then once the five senses are done, just work through the next five. So what I was doing is I was looking at art galleries. All of a sudden, I was just really interested in art. I just wanted to see visually what I like, so I just went through the whole thing without. And that's what some of the exercises I get people to do. There isn't really a result. Like you don't have to come back and tell me like, oh, I like this type of art, or I like this type of sculpture. I don't really need you to. I really need you to just expand the visual experience, just to understand what is it you like. And it's really about spending nurturing time with yourself as well. So it's kind of twofold. One is expanding what you know you like or don't like from a sensory point of view, and secondly, it's also to really take time to nourish yourself just by spending time with yourself. You can either spend time by yourself by berating yourself and going through self-doubt, or you can spend time with yourself just nourishing yourself with these senses. So as a guideline, I usually go through the five. Once you're done with the five, just repeat them again, and so on and so on. So it's really simple. It's not meant to be too complicated, especially with so much that's going on.
Okay. Fantastic. More dates with myself sounds like, even when you're in relationship, I feel like it's definitely worth going on some dates with yourself and just remembering what it is that you like and you love and bringing that to the other person. So yeah, I think what you're saying here about dates with yourself, to remember what it is that you like on your own as an individual, as a person, as a woman, what you enjoy, and as a man too, depending on who is watching. And dates with yourself. So is that kind of setting aside a time of the week and treating yourself really nicely and going to guests as you would as if you were going on a date with someone else? Only you're going on the date with only with you.
Yeah. So I mean, even if it's just once a week, it's fine. Whatever works within your schedule. It's not meant to text the schedule, but it's just meant for you to have an intentional time by yourself. And if you want to dress up and go out, you want to, soak in the bath so that you can read something just to see if you like that type of genre of books, just go ahead.
Great.
Definitely anything that works with your imagination and just rotate it through. So that's why I like the five senses as a guide.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much. Yeah, sensual pleasure is always good. So that brings us on to our last, our last for today, we'll say. A last thing that we had spoken about before as well, which is another way of getting back to yourself and really feeling your sense of self and understanding what you like and what's good for you and what you want for yourself and for your life, and then inviting someone else in. So would you like to tell us a little bit about the last tip that you were saying?
So
practice.
Well, it's kind of one of the senses on touch, but it's really a bit more than that. So it's actually a separate tip, which is on self-pleasure. And I find that as we go through a divorce, there were things that happen in the relationship that cause a separation or like a disconnection. And intimacy is usually the first thing to go out the door. And And then we start going into a whole spiral of, I'm not enough, no one wants to touch me and things like that. But the truth of the matter is we probably haven't even spent time connecting with ourselves. So self-pleasure is really important because it also helps us calibrate how much pleasure we can receive through the divorce process. As you're trying to heal and you're trying to grow through the process. Being able to expand your ability to receive pleasure, it's hugely healing and important, just to ensure that you keep going on a certain trajectory through the divorce and transition through and not spiral backwards as well. So that part is really, because it's so intimate and it's so central, and it heals a very important wound, which was likely part of what broke down the relationship in the first place, which is intimacy as well.
Okay.
And usually that starts with ourselves.
Yeah. So a healthy self-pleasure practice is definitely something that I'm always on about. There's so many benefits to it, and I feel like my own practice could be stronger, I'm going to admit, and more consistent, because I see the actual benefits in my relationship as well as in my own state of mind, my own well-being, when I have a healthy self-pleasure practice going. So what I'm hearing you say is that is crucial, especially in divorce and going through a divorce and coming out of divorce, because that's one of the first things that will break down and where some of your doubt about your self-worth actually lies. So healing through understanding that you are still a pleasurable being, that you can give pleasure to yourself and you can feel pleasure and receive pleasure as well, is a huge point. And I feel like many people don't talk about that, if ever. I don't think ever.
I've actually had people ask me, like, could I self-pleasure too much? What happens if I do, and then, I may not ever want to look for a partner again. And the point is, we've been taught that we only have so much pleasure we can take. And that's why it's a very important practice, because it's very subtle. You don't get it. It's not as if you do 5 sessions and then you'll be like, okay, I'm completely changed. But it gradually allows your psyche to readjust and to allow yourself to receive even more pleasure. Why it's so important to then have that foundation before starting dating again, because then the amount of pleasure or the amount of good, I guess, that you attract within a partner, or that you're willing to receive from a partner, expands. And your capacity is a lot more. So if someone's kind of treating you the same, like say what the previous relationships were, something was really out of sync, you'd catch on that quite immediately, because you're in so much better space to receive pleasure. And at the end of the day, it's really healing, and it allows us to be a lot more in our power to make our decisions and to decide. And making your own decisions to be more embodied also means deciding, at this point in time, I know I'm triggered from a relationship. I know I'm triggered when I'm going out on a new date. What do I do and what do I react? You're in a much more empowered position to decide when you learn to connect back with your pleasure and just really owning that you own your pleasure.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, thank you. So I am loving this conversation, and what I have now come to in our discussion is that it is very, very healthy to create a vision and feel it in your body for what and how you want to feel when you're in a healthy relationship, in a relationship that's really supportive of you. And in order to really understand that on a physical level before you even begin dating and meeting people that you want to invite in, is understanding this for yourself through your senses, through your emotions, and through the vision that you have for the relationship. So what I often get is, am I asking for too much? Is this too much that I'm asking for? Can I possibly have all of this? Is it even, am I just being ridiculous? Am I ever going to find this person or this situation? So I'm not sure if that's also a question or a challenge that people have for you.
I guess that question tends to be quite silent. It does come up in various forms or another, and I completely understand that. I mean, I've also experienced that at one point or another. And I can say from experience and from what I've seen with my clients is that it's definitely not too much. Okay, so like miracles can have. I mean, what we call miracles, I no longer call them miracles anymore. but we have to know what we want to ask for. So it's not too much, because if you don't know what's the full breadth of what you want to ask for, when it comes to you, let's say, and the universe always over delivers at mine. The universe delivers something way bigger and way more wonderful than you expect. You won't be seeing it, or you won't know how to handle it, because it wasn't in what you asked initially, because you kind of tailored the list down, you kind of made the vision a lot smaller. So when something really big, wonderful, comes to you and abundant, and then you'll be like, I don't know if I can handle this, right? And so it's really about just allowing your vision to expand and allowing yourself to accept some of these. So it's really, I really don't think there's too much. I do draw the line, however, at the point where I don't encourage visions to like impose actions on other people. So it's not about like having someone fall in love with you, or it's not about like misfortune fall upon your partner, or things like that. In fact, I'll even work in some statements around how your relationship is with your ex-partner, how your current partner has a relationship with your ex-partner as well. Like do everybody get along? If there are kids involved as well, does your current partner really love their kids as your own? And do they get along with as a blended family and things like that? I think I would really work these statements in without without having any negative statements around your ex-partner, or even just specifying that someone falls in love with you and things like that, like specific names. But really, yeah, just expand as much as in fact, I even encourage tweaking the vision, along the way. When the more you heal through the process, sometimes I look around and I'll be like, oh, that's a really, good thing in a relationship that I wanted, and then you kind of put it in to the vision. And it's not hard and fast rule. It's something that's growing and alive. And the thing about the vision is not that it's not like you're gonna paste it on the wall, and if this person, doesn't meet every single thing, then he's out of the vision or she's out of the vision. But the key is that when you have that vision, anytime you feel triggered to kind of, do something or say something that you will regret later on through the divorce process, or even after the divorce process when you just started dating, it allows you to recalibrate, to make the decision to like, oh wait, I need to stop for a minute. This wasn't what I wanted to build myself to, and let me change my decision in this moment.
Amazing. Wow. Yeah, so much wisdom. So much wisdom today. So yeah, thank you so much for that. Definitely. I'm not sure if there's Mari Lou says hi, I think. Hey Mari, you're still there. Yeah, so if anyone has any questions, this is so there's so much wisdom coming from Andrea today, and we'd be happy to answer them. So just pop them in the comments, or if you want to direct message us, then you absolutely can connect with us on Facebook and direct message. That's perfectly fine. And definitely share this with anyone you know that it might support. And yeah, just to kind of wrap things up, I'm just going to have a quick summary. There was so much there, I'm not sure I'm going to get it all. But for someone who's transitioning from divorce and then looking towards their future with someone new, the steps that Andrea was saying are very healthy to go through are first a cathartic process of clearing out intense emotions like rage and sadness, getting them out, having a 20 to 30 minute session daily, and then less as the emotions clear until you have some space. And before even that, just slowing way down. So we have a tendency to want to rush through this transition process. Slowing way down gives us the chance to process through in a healthy way the stuff that's in there, and to take out the gems and the learning and the wisdom that actually comes from that situation, so that we can have a vision for and construct a new way of being with ourselves and a new way of being in a relationship, so that we don't repeat old patterns or behaviors. We create something new and more glorious sounding, absolutely, that we hold as a higher vision for ourselves, so that you can actually attain that, actually have that. And so a huge part of the process is getting to know yourself really, really well, reestablishing a sense of self-worth, and reestablishing a trust in yourself and a knowing of yourself. So one of the amazing, so many things. One of the amazing things you shared was creating a vision of how you want to feel and be. And that could be a vision board or a statement. Another was going on dates with yourself and working through your five senses.
Yeah.
So for vision, for example, going to an art gallery,
Yeah.
or for touch, going into a nice bath, or for reading, or books, literature, your mind, maybe. Reading something and having those be dates, and just working through and getting to know yourself more. So much.
Just take yourself to different cuisines, you know.
Yeah, restaurants.
You might hate this
You're gonna
cuisine.
have a blast.
Yeah. Try the next one the next time. Just get yourself, all your senses activated.
Yeah.
Slowly, one by one.
Learning again what you like, what you love, who you are, and what's your natural inclination. And you may be a different person than you were before. However many years it was before you were dating before. Yeah. And the last, which is a powerful one, was self-pleasure practice. So working with your body, getting to know your body, getting back in touch with your sensuality, learning that you have a really wide bandwidth for pleasure, and expanding that. And if you find that your bandwidth isn't as wide as you would like it to be, just gradually working on creating a sensual language with yourself through self-pleasure, so that when you do step into a new relationship, there's a really wide and beautiful space there for someone to come and be with you in. Yeah. Did I hit everything?
Yes.
It was so good.
You had so much to cover.
There was so much to cover. You did an amazing job. So if people want to look at your work and find you, then what is the best place for them to go?
So my Facebook and my Instagram. So that's at the Dina Rising. We can always leave the links in the comments.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So Facebook and Instagram is one of the best ways. I have a YouTube channel as well. And I have a series on divorce and transitions. So I'm building up that particular portion, so I can leave the link there as well.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Yes. Yeah, thank you for having me here.
I hope she comes back to London soon. I'm sure you do too.
Yes, I love it here. Beautiful.
All right, I've got to run over here.
Okay.
Okay.